A great episode for you today. The amazing Carly Jefferson has joined me for this interview where she shares her unusual journey in the no BS world. She actually built two businesses with us and she's had amazing success. And she's done it in a really short amount of time, which I think is a valuable story to hear because the way that she has tackled everything that we've taught in No BS, taking imperfect action quickly, learning and pivoting, has resulted in amazing success very, very quickly. If you are somebody who is hungry to shift your business in a short amount of time, I really recommend listening to this episode and getting inspired by the way that Carly has shown up for her business with our community and inside No BS. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Carly. Hey, Carly, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So excited to talk to you today. You've done just incredible things right before my eyes, and I'm really excited to share your story. But why don't we get started first with you just sharing, who you are. Tell us a little bit about your business and who you help.
Totally, of course. As I was saying, this feels totally like a full circle moment for me because I listened to your podcast, I read your book, and so now being on it is, thank you for having me. I'm very excited. A little bit about me. So I have a branding agency where I help early stage tech founders build uncomplicated brands that scale in 2 to 4 days.
Amazing. And you've had actually a very interesting journey in No BS. Where were you in business when you first found us?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've had a very interesting journey with No BS because when I first started, I had a branding agency with a business partner. And I had also recently launched an e-commerce brand with that business partner. Today, I no longer have that e-commerce brand or that business partner. And so my journey has been also how do I navigate, the systems and the foundations and everything that you've implemented, but also like, how do I navigate the transition of losing the partner, shutting down another business? And then I've actually started another business, which is Uncomplicated Brands, that is where I work with early stage tech founders. And that's kind of like going back to my roots ended up helping me launch this third business, which sounds so crazy.
Right. So you actually spent the first year with us building the business with your partner, which was a partnership branding business. Can you tell us a little bit about like what was going on in your business that made you say, I need help with this?
Yeah, we were totally overwhelmed. So at the time, I was doing everything. I was doing fractional CMO work. I was also taking on like any retainer we could. I think at one point we had almost 10 retainers between the two of us. And so we were doing so many things for so many people and we were so burnt out. And we were doing that to fund our e-commerce brand as well. So we were so busy and she had 2 little ones at home. I also lived in Cape Town at the time. She lived in Vancouver. So doing all that, we were also navigating time zones. And honestly, we were just so overwhelmed. And I think the both of us were like, this all just felt broken. And I think when we found you, honestly, it was a really big decision for both of us. Like it almost felt too good to be true, what you were promising initially. And so it was like, I remember being on the call with her and like actually crying, being like, are we going to make this investment? Like, are we going to do this? Because like, yeah, I don't know. It was like, it felt like a big thing. I remember to take that leap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a huge thing, especially because you guys were overworked and overwhelmed. So what, you're going to join something and now I have to do more work? I mean, how did that even work in your brain?
Yeah, I think we had just signed a couple retainers that allowed us to invest in the program, I think. And how it worked, it's just like we knew we weren't doing it right. Like we knew that we needed better systems. I think like at the time, the LP definitely was something that really changed things for us. We were doing so many free proposals. It feels like so long ago to even be saying that, but like we would put sometimes, 8 hours into a proposal and then be ghosted. And so that was like happening to us over and over again. And so I think knowing a way to not do that anymore was a huge win for us. And the LPs definitely changed everything.
Tell me a little bit about that because I know you were really the one who spearheaded the LP part when you guys came in. What was your experience doing that? I mean, you already knew it, kind of the concept because you had read my book. Was it something you were like, okay, I'm just doing this from now on? Was there any sort of hesitation? Like, what was it like selling it for the first time?
Oh, when we joined, within the first two or 3 months, I think we made $75,000. Like I was basically like, when we join, we are going all in. And that's, I work with tech founders. So I say we work in sprints. I know the No BS, we call it intensives, but that is like how I work. So I was down for that, and I was like, I want to see the ROI on this as fast as I can, honestly. And so when we joined the program, I remember I was like doing so much cold outreach on LinkedIn, and I had a VA who was helping me do that. I was reaching out to everybody I knew. I was just like implementing all of the foundations that you gave us. You gave us the scripts, which I've like modified the script since, but I remember then just like taking your script, like copy and pasting and just doing the thing. And that was how we got like our first, I think we got our first 4. I remember getting 4 LPs in the book and closing all 4.
Ooh,
And so I was
nice.
like, this is working.
This is working. I'm getting paid
Yeah. Getting paid
to close
to
these
pitch.
people.
Yeah.
Getting paid to pitch.
Getting paid to pitch.
Amazing. Okay, so you have this burst of energy. You do the work, obviously, for a whole bunch of reasons. Actually, at the end of that first year is when you guys decided you were going to part ways.
Yeah,
think
so
it was
we-
almost exactly a year ago.
Things started to,
Earlier than that, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we had decided to part ways. It officially happened actually in May last year, but I think started to kind of happen, and we started to talk about it obviously earlier than that. Yeah, it was obviously really difficult because I really questioned at that moment, like she was the brand side. So she was the designer. I'm the strategist. My background's in growth marketing. So I was like, how can I build brands and websites when I'm not even a designer? So I had a lot of imposter syndrome, definitely kind of through that transition. And she was in Vancouver and I moved to London. So I now live in London. And so like the time zones, it wasn't going to work. I think it's so difficult to be business partners, especially in this style and the way we work with that amount of time difference. And so I remember being like, okay, I can go and get a job. Like that is an option on the table here right now. Or I can like try do this alone. And I think, I mean, I had some great conversations with you. I think that really helped me decide to do it on my own. And I do think I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I think that it's like in my DNA. But I really wasn't sure. But I think knowing that I had the support and like honestly, the No BS systems and community, like I was like, okay, I've already done this for a year. Like I should be able to do this pretty quick myself now.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, we are speaking almost exactly a year later. Because
Yeah.
I think that conversation, which I remember very well, where we were talking and you were saying like, I'm going to start a business from scratch right now. Like I just did all
Yeah.
of this and I could, you're very hireable. Like I could go get a, multi 6-figure job. And instead I'm going to start a business from scratch. I don't remember what I told you, but you ended up being like, okay, I'm going to.
Yeah, no. I remember you, but you were great because I remember you also just saying to me, like, you were like, is that really what you want? And because like I was looking like, and I had a headhunter. So in my idea, when I moved to Cape Town, actually, I left my director of marketing job. I was on track to be the CMO. And in my mind, getting a job in big tech and being a CMO was like, that's what I was planning on doing. That was my career move. And then we moved to Cape Town where the job market wasn't quite the same. And that is kind of what ended up I was consulting first, and then I ended up building a branding agency with my business partner. But I remember going back to that decision being like, those jobs are still there. And I could probably now get that CMO role in big tech that I wanted. And actually what's so funny is I've had a few recruiters this last year in my inbox. And I'm like, I don't actually want that.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that I didn't.
Of course not now. You're gangbusters. Okay, so this is why it's so interesting because you basically did the whole thing and then she kind of started again. You started again from scratch, but you weren't from scratch because you had already learned all the processes. So you just had to do them for it yourself. I just have to brag a little bit because I remember talking to you 2 months later in August and you were already you had already implemented the first part because you already knew how to do that and you had moved into authority and you were like, I'm going away for 2 weeks. When I come back, my authority machine will be done. And sure enough, that's what you did. So you are not messing around, which I really, really respect. Tell me a little bit about some of because you come from, CMO roles, big tech, positions. What's one mindset shift that you had to make in order to build the business you have now?
The biggest thing that I have had to learn is getting over myself. I think when I first honestly joined No BS, and I feel like probably a lot of people think that it's going to be a lot of business tactics and but it ends up being a lot of mindset stuff and it ends up feeling a lot like therapy.
Tactics.
And business tactics. Obviously those foundations helped, but I think like the biggest shift truthfully for me was like, I had an agency with my business partner for 3 or 4 years. We never once showed our faces online. We didn't show up. We did rely on referrals. We were like, I almost think we actually almost bounced off each other because I'd be like, I'm an introvert extrovert. She's like an introvert. So we'd be like, okay, well then both of us aren't going to like we're not going to talk to people. We just like do great work. So people are going to come to us. Right. And actually that was a similar problem, I think, also with our e-commerce agency. We'll just make a great product and people will come to us. Right. And so, I mean, it's definitely going into authority. You have to let go of that. And I think when I shut down both of those two businesses, I also kind of made that decision to myself that if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I have to get over myself and I have to show up and I have to make that like a priority. And I think that's the biggest shift in kind of myself, but also it's also shown in my business.
Absolutely. So you started showing up hardcore. I mean, you have not shied away from it. I know it hasn't always been easy, but putting yourself out there, tell us the different ways that you have put yourself out there in the last year.
Yeah. So I decided to go hard on LinkedIn in January because that is where most of my clients come from. So I posted for 30 days consistently. By the end of the month, I think I'd gone viral 3 or 4 times. I had over 500,000 impressions. And this is like starting from an account that I would post once in a while. So anyone can do that. And I had from that, my fit calls were booked. But the how is like the first time I went viral on LinkedIn, I smoked weed. Like, well, I think, but that's what I mean about getting over yourself.
Wait,
I know.
Explain that.
I'll explain it.
Because you were stressed or you're...
No, well, what happened was I had decided that I was going to post every single day on LinkedIn for 30 days. And I woke up that morning with a really severe migraine. Well, actually, it was like a 2-day migraine or 2 or 3 day migraine. And I was in Vancouver and none of my meds were working. And my mom was like, do you want a joint? And I was like, yes, I do. And then I was like trying to do work that I had to do because I had to show up that day, canceling all my meetings. But I was like, I've got to show up on LinkedIn because I made this commitment to myself. So I took a photo of myself and I posted about that moment, like the reality of living with chronic pain. And it really resonated with people. But I think what I mean by that, and where other moments where I've had virality, not that that's necessarily the goal, but it's kind of just in those moments in between where you typically wouldn't show up. I would never share that story before, right? But I made a commitment to myself. And yeah, and I actually got a client from that post. So
amazing. Can you clarify, because I can already imagine some listeners being like, oh, I just have to post on LinkedIn and that's how I'm going to get my clients. Can you clarify all the things that you had in place before you started showing up on LinkedIn so that all roads could lead to you closing a client?
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of the big things for me, and this actually happened, this is why, so my big idea, which we do in No BS, I actually did when I had my business partner. So our big idea was Uncomplicated Brands. And that came through, there's all the exercises that you do about finding your big idea through different places in your life and how it shows up. And for me, and her, to be honest, I think that was definitely our combined value. It was everything for us is simplify to amplify. In my own life, I'm also always looking to make things simple, but tech founders especially are like the technical tech founders are everything is so complicated. They can't say what they do in one sentence. And so like, I think my magic power is really helping them simplify. So I think going through those exercises, especially for the authority piece and understanding, okay, what is your core message that's connecting it all is super helpful. I mean, I even called my agency my big idea, Uncomplicated Brands now when I relaunched. And so that's kind of my quality check through each of my pieces, if you will, because that's what stems it all together. Mm-hmm. But then I think, yeah, that's kind of one piece. And then the systems to putting it in place. I obviously have I have my email, I have my freebie, all of the things that we go through when we're building our engine in No BS in place to make sure that if I am now driving people to my website, I'm making sure that I have a way to capture and convert them, which honestly is amazing now because I feel like from doing that with myself and actually creating my engine so quickly, I'm now like, I feel like I can't do a brand and website without being like, are you thinking about your engine too? And helping clients with that though.
Absolutely. Well, and also somebody's interested and oh, they have to book this fit call. Oh, I'm going to sell them my LP, right? Oh, I know how to pitch them after. Having that clear process of moving it to a sale is virality does nothing if we don't know how to actually make the close on the back end.
Totally. And I think, that exactly that. And again, just going back to virality, it's not that that's the goal. I don't think virality is necessarily what brought me in customers. I think what virality did was give me reach to reach more people. But then I have specific content where I talk about my process, where I talk about the problem that I solve, where I speak directly to tech founders. And that's the content that brings them down the funnel and has them convert too.
Okay, which brings us to your niche. So when did you decide on your niche and actually start to own it throughout this process?
When I signed up to year 2 and we first did our first quarterly call, is when
It was on that call. Okay.
it was on that call. Yeah, with you. We were I was talking about niching, and I remember you asking, where do most of your clients come from? And I was like, oh, most of them right now they're usually in stealth. And you were like, why isn't stealth all over your website? And I was like, yeah, that's true. And it's been like that for years. I help founders go to market. And so, yeah, in that session, you're like, why isn't that all over your website? And then all of a sudden I was like, why aren't tech founders my niche? And then I put it everywhere and started saying it.
You put it everywhere and started saying it, and then you started saying it in all of your content and your emails and your LinkedIn posts. And guess what? They think of you. You're the person, right? Like your niche is working just so well, and it's actually expanded, right? Because it was tech founders, but you also started talking a lot about what this year that's kind of made you a bit of a celebrity.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Actually, just before this call, this is the first time that this happened, but someone said they booked a fit call with me and they said that her husband said that my name came up like 5 times in another group that I'd like never heard of. And I was like, can you send me a screenshot? Like that is such a compliment. But what I've started talking about is, and it's very directly related to my niche, I think, is AI. And so I have been looking at being a solo founder now. I'm like, how can I automate? How can I use AI to accelerate my own processes? And so being sort of a startup marketer, I've always been looking at things like, how can I do more with less? And so I'm naturally super interested in AI. Plus every single brand that I build is an AI something startup right now. And so I am able to learn quite quickly through them, which is really exciting. And now I actually feel like I need to do a little bit of a rebrand, not rebrand necessarily on my own site, but I need to update my own materials because a lot of the projects that I'm starting to do now are AI projects.
Which I just think is great because it's kind of happened organically. And I think you did it the way I think is most powerful, which is, first of all, we realized this was your niche last year. It wasn't like you chose it or you thought, oh, that would be a good niche. It was like, wait a second, all of my clients are doing this. And I just said, well, why aren't you owning that? So you guys, like, that's the strongest way to pick a niche, is to have worked with lots of people and realize, oh, these are the people that I serve best. And now on top of that, there's like another slice of it where you've been talking about something that you've been helping people with and you're helping more and more of them. And now is the time. I don't think you have to do a whole rebrand. I think you just need to like sprinkle it in here and there. Frankly, not even that much because you don't have it anywhere and you're known for it right now. But out of a true need from the people you're talking to. This is the strongest way to pick your focus, your niche, all of that. But it requires taking action. It requires, like, you just take incredible action so fast, doing 30 days of LinkedIn, and doing it feeling like I'm just going to do it no matter what. I mean, that's the imperfect action that gets you this information so quickly. So I just want to highlight that for our listeners.
The other thing I think that is important, I was terrified to niche too. Like that is why our previous agency never did. And so I think it's also important that I remember niching and then my next like 3 clients weren't tech founders and they weren't tech clients. And I remember being like, oh my God, like, I don't know if this is working now, but I was like, I still can help these people. And like, they don't have to be necessarily tech founders. And I think some people are scared of niching because they mean that like they're going to turn more people away. And sometimes I still work with people that are not tech founders, but they still come to me.
Yes. Say that again. Right? It's the fear. Well, why were you scared of niching?
For saying no to money. I mean, that's what people are scared of. But the problem is, yeah, you're still not. They still will come to you.
They still will come to you. Yeah. And even if you niche and then you get these 3 clients that are not in your niche, that doesn't mean you niched incorrectly or that you should unniche. It just means you're allowed to take clients, whatever clients you want. But the niching is actually, I mean, I've seen this over and over again, and I think it's working for you too. The niching is helping almost attract these other people. They just
100%.
appreciate that you seem like an expert and they like what you're doing and they're going, I want that too. I'm not in tech, but can you help me anyway?
100%. And it's also like now a good way for me if I meet somebody that I'm like, I don't know if you'd be a fit for this process, but I can't really identify why. I'm like, but sorry, it's an easy no if you need to have that no in your back pocket too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, actually, can you just speak a little bit to that? Because you're referencing this discernment that one must have with clients. Can you tell us a little bit about how you think about interviewing people to potentially be clients of yours?
Yeah. So another thing is, I think when you have your own agency, you work with a lot of dicks. I don't know if I can say that word, but sometimes you do.
BS
Like,
podcast.
yeah, that's true. There's just I think we've all had some clients that are really difficult and hard and don't respect you. And I think with the biggest shift, I don't know if discernment is necessarily the right word, but there's definitely a mindset that changes when you have this fit call that's 15 minutes. You've set an expectation. You're asking them, hi, like, why did you book the call? Like, you're setting the tone that you're the expert. And I think the shift happened also, truthfully, when I started making videos and showing up online. Like, people start to treat you like an authority and an expert, and that shift helps make the sale a lot easier, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Authority definitely makes sales easier because you can show up as that expert who says, I think when somebody gets on the phone with someone that they've seen and heard about before they've spoken to them, there's a different power dynamic, and they, will defer to them a little bit more in that
100%.
conversation. But how did you do it before then? Before you were showing up online, before you had this authority machine, how were you getting your clients?
Referrals. So referrals are great, but inconsistent. Obviously, you don't know when they're going to come. And then I was a cold outreach girl. And that is where I got a lot of our clients. And it was very much, I think, then when you get on a call, it feels a little bit more like an interview. Like you're trying to prove yourself and you're trying to, get on the call and be like, this is why you should hire me, right? Now my content helps people come to me. So I talk a lot about how if you can't explain your startup to your mom, we should talk. And so they'll come to me and be like, yeah, I don't have a good one-liner. Or like, they'll be like, I saw your video, and they'll ask if they could share their screen to explain what they do. And so they're kind of speaking back the problem that they have to me. And so it's actually more of like me truthfully are figuring out if they're a fit for my process and if I can help them.
It only gets easier as you go through this process and become more expert, and then of course become more visible and build that authority machine. But to your point, you got it from referrals, you did cold outreach. I hope you also did warm outreach.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But honestly, we built our business for the first few years off cold outreach, which is crazy. Yeah. Now I'm like, that's so crazy.
I mean, listen, cold outreach works. It's just you really have to be an action taker for cold outreach to work, which you clearly are. So, okay, I have two more questions. One is clearly you're a poster child for this method. What would you say to somebody who's been listening to the podcast? They're curious, they're no BS curious, but they're on the fence about joining us.
Do it. I feel like I'm telling everybody to do it. The retreat was so amazing. I think not only do you get the systems that you need for your business and everything, I remember being so impressed that you not only give scripts, but there's templates, there's everything from what you need to give I'm constantly going back to them, even at this stage in my business, making sure that I have the right details that I'm giving to my VA right now and the right instructions. So you get so much. I mean, obviously do it. The results in my business speak for itself. But I will say the only caveat is that you have to be ready to make the investment in yourself from a time perspective too. You will see the results, but you have to make them happen.
Yeah, this won't do it for you. This is not a done for you service. This is about giving you the tools so you can show up and take that action.
Yeah.
I love that you came in with the intention of, I am going to get my ROI. That's absolutely how I've bought every program I've taken. If you have that intention, then you'll show up and take action to make it happen.
100%.
So, I mean, you've just done incredibly well this business has been alive for a year. What would you say are some of your biggest, proudest wins in this last year from this new business?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like there's been a lot. My biggest, proudest wins. I mean, I just sold last month my first AI project for 15 grand, which I'm really excited about. I'm implementing that into a new startup. That's a win for me because we talked about AI being this new offering that I haven't even built out on my website. I haven't marketed or anything. And that just organically happened using the same no BS framework. I just spoke at Hampton's Tech Week, which the ROI on that event is very high so far. I have I think 4 new clients from that, which is amazing. But I don't know, the biggest win, honestly, and I was thinking a lot about this the last few weeks, is in myself. coming to the No BS retreat, being in New York, and then having these different speaking opportunities, I just wouldn't even have thought a year ago that I would be here. And so I'm pretty proud.
You should be. You should be super proud. And what's next for you? I mean, you accelerated this timeline. I mean, you've been with us for 2 years, but you started this business a year ago. And I feel like you've done what takes people a lot longer to do, because you implemented the entire business model, the LP, the intensives, which you learned before. But then you implemented the authority machine and went into celeb status, which is like what we do after the authority machine, very, very quickly. And so here you are, you're at this scaling moment. What is your next vision for the future as your business levels up?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm thinking a lot about that right now. Specifically, I'm looking at how I can lean into AI and offer that more as a service, because I just see so much potential in that. And honestly, just for my own audience, when they have such small teams right now, we're all looking to be able to accelerate and be more efficient and grow. So definitely an offer within there. And then, I don't know, maybe a podcast. I feel like I'm starting to think bigger now. I'm thinking about hiring. I have less clarity about the future than usual, just because I feel like so much is changing, but in a really exciting way. So I'm excited. I have some fun things coming, but I don't know exactly what yet.
I mean, I said this to you last week. I think it's because there's kind of a lot of opportunities now. Like, you could do a lot of different things, and that is very exciting. And that's what happens when you build such a solid business foundation, because you've got clients coming in, like, you're making money. You have the time and money to think with.
Totally. 100%. Yeah, no, exactly.
So you just launched the AI Blueprint. Tell us what that is.
I haven't even officially publicly launched it, but the AI blueprint is similar to my brand blueprint. So in my brand blueprint, we're aligning your brand and growth goals. Here, I'm looking at your marketing and sales team and seeing, okay, where are there areas that we can set you and your team up for growth? How can we create brand bots to help you stay consistent with your messaging, but we can also implement help and support for customer support on your website with chatbots. There's also different levels of automation we can do. So I'm really looking for opportunities within their businesses to make sure that your marketing is consistent and your sales gets easier.
Beautiful. And Carly, where can everybody find you?
On LinkedIn. That's mostly where I hang out. But you can also find me on Instagram, Uncomplicated Brands. I'm also on TikTok, but mostly LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely go check out Carly on LinkedIn and connect.
Carly Jefferson.
Will we find you? Is that a common name?
Is it a common name? Good question. I think you'll be able to find me. Carly Jefferson, Uncomplicated Brands. Hopefully.
Okay. Yeah, search that.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll put the link in our show notes, but just in case. Carly, thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your story. I'm so proud of you for everything that you've done, and it's like amazing that I know that this is really just the beginning for what you're about to build. You are on a total rocket ship, and it's just really awesome to be a part of your journey.
Thank you. I mean, I'm so grateful for you for changing my business and in turn my life. So thank you.
No problem.